Hello, and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're going to be checking out a spectacular home that has been completely refurbished, built about 1895, and the two owners are Mike and Chris. Thanks, guys, for letting us come and check out your house because I understand it's spectacular inside.
It is. It's a beautiful home, and it's fun to live in.
And it was built about
About
1895.
1895, yes, sir. Yep. And this is a picture of the house in 1945 when the previous owners purchased the home, and they passed this picture along to us.
And it looks just about like it today, like it did then.
It does. It looks just like the same house, except that it's been painted.
What a great job of redoing it.
Thanks.
And Chris, you picked out the colors?
Definitely. It took a long time for me to pick up the color.
Well, let's go on in and see what all you've accomplished.
Terrific.
Let's go. This is your place, so tell me all about it.
Welcome to our home.
Is this the original front door, by the way?
This is the original front door. We had all of the wood in the house has been resurfaced. We stripped all the paint off the house and had it stained back to its original color. You can see all the brown wood in the house was painted when we bought the house. There was one beam that I'll show you later that had been covered and was not painted. So when we discovered that beam, we had something to match all the other wood to.
That must have been quite an undertaking to
Oh.
strip all the paint off all this woodwork.
It took a crew of 4 people and me and Chris in here stripping it took us 10 months to do the whole project.
Now, I said this was built about 1895. Is that basically correct?
That's correct. We still have a historian researching it to find out exactly when it was built, but the architectural design tells us that it was around 1895.
And the square footage?
Including the maid's quarters up in the attic on the 3rd floor, it's about 3,500 square feet.
Well, that's large. And I notice here you have pocket doors.
Yes, we have 2 of them. We have one here in the dining room and then one going into the parlor. And these were also painted. All the wood was painted.
Wow.
And these doors are to divide the rooms so that you can have 3 different parties going on, or you can open all of the 2 doors and have one large party. The large parties are a lot more fun. This is the dining room, and again, all the wood was painted when we bought the house. We started with this room stripping the wood, and decided that we couldn't just stop here. We continued through and ended up doing the whole house. This is the second fireplace that's in the dining room here. Back in when they built the house, you can see that they coved the china cabinet to match the cove of the bay windows here.
Now, is that an example of wallpaper that used to be in here?
That's exactly what that is. That was wallpaper, and there was a cabinet nailed to the wall, and we took the cabinet down and found this wallpaper that we believe to be the original wallpaper in this room. So we have framed it in, and we're going to preserve. You'll see throughout the house there's quite a few things we've done to preserve the history of the house.
Now, the furniture, are these antiques that you've acquired, or some of them come with the house?
The dining room set is just a set that we have, but you'll see in the living room a lot of the furniture we purchased from the previous owners, and she had lived here for 65 years. She moved in with her mom and dad in 1945. We're going to go this way, but before we do, I want to show you the painting here over the fireplace. We found this in an antique mall in Harbor City.
Is that this
and
house?
That's this house. It doesn't have an address on it, but it says Mr. Espy's Residence, Long Beach, California. We know that Mr. Espy owned this whole land. In fact, the next track over is called the Espy track.
That looks more Tudor than
Correct.
Victorian.
It does. Back in 1918, when they turned the house into a duplex, they made a lot of changes to the house. But you can see the roof line is the same. There are windows in the garage here and different places on the house in this painting that match exactly to this house.
Huh. That was quite a find.
Yes, it was. We were very excited to find it. Now, there's also a maid's buzzer under the table here that when you were sitting at the table eating, you would have pushed the button and the maid would have buzzed on something like this.
Right.
That would have told the maids to come to your service. Now, we sit at the dining room table all the time and push the buzzer and nobody comes running.
And this is quite a phone, too.
Yes, it is.
Now, the kitchen looks like it's pretty much original.
It does look like it's original. The cabinet behind you here, Harvey, is the only original cabinet to the house.
This is called Shaker?
It's, yeah, Shaker Mission. And we had a carpenter design all of the kitchen cabinets to match this cabinet. In fact,
Well, these all look the same.
yeah, they do.
Absolutely.
She did a great job. Jan Ward is our contractor, and she did a great
I know
job.
Jan.
Oh, she's a great lady. She does wonderful woodwork. You can also see my Pillsbury Doughboy collection, which is not antique, but some of it is vintage. The sink here was we found in a salvage yard, and we had it reconditioned. It has a date stamped on the bottom of it of 1934, and it was a beautiful sink. So we bought it, had it reconditioned, and then designed the kitchen around the sink. It's a what's called American Standard today, but back then it was called American Sanitary.
Well done.
The stove is a 1941 O'Keefe Merritt that we also had reconditioned and brought into the house. The vent above the stove is a modern 2005 that has not been completed as of yet.
I thought maybe that was the original.
The vents that you see up there are original to the house. We did have to purchase a few more of them on eBay, and
Is that the heaters?
those are the heater vents. That's the only one that's up high like that, because when we redid the kitchen, that was the only place to be able to put it. All the other ones are down on the floor. And those heaters are great because it blows out so much air when it's on that on a cold morning you can turn on the heater and stand in front of it and catch all of the warm air coming out.
That originally probably was an old gravity furnace, wasn't
That's
it?
correct. That's what it was. It was this giant piece of tin down in the basement that rotted out and was gone by the time we purchased the home.
And the floors are original?
The floors are all original. The floors were a lot of work. Every room looks a little bit different because some of the floors were covered and some were not. Over the years they had put linoleum on them or put carpeting on them. So depending on how much sunlight they got or how much weather they got, it changed the colors of the floor. But we're very proud of the floors. They're beautiful throughout the whole house.
I know there are a lot of rooms and I don't want to miss any of them, so let's keep going.
Let's go this way.
Oh, okay.
This is we're not going to go into the basement, but I'm going to let you see down in there. And
Oh, you have quite a large basement.
yes, sir.
Wow.
And then you don't want to miss the electrical that's
Oh, that's
above.
the old electrical.
That was the original electric
Noob
when we
and
purchased
top,
the home.
What's it?
Knob and tube.
Knob and tube.
Yes. Now, you couldn't have turned on all the blow dryers with that electrical system. So we've put in a new system, but we kept that one to preserve the age and to show the history of the home. This room, these two rooms used to be the butler's pantry, and we've turned it into a laundry room and a bathroom. And you'll see the lamps right here, Harvey, or the chandelier.
Gas and electric.
The one that's going up is for gas, and the one pointing down is for electric. So back then they had gas and electric running through the same pipe.
They have those at the Bembridge house.
Yes. Now we're coming into what's my office.
Now,
But-
you're in what, real estate?
I'm a real estate agent with Main Street Realtors. I've been doing real estate for about 20 years now. This room is the room where in the evening after dinner, the men would retire to this room. And you can tell that because of the masculinity in the windows. These are the only room in the house that has this type of windows.
To smoke their cigars?
To smoke their cigars, and there's a door there to be able to go outside. The men always had to have a retreat, a way to get out of the house, while the women all went to the parlor to have their tea.
And this was considered the parlor?
This is the living room.
Oh, okay.
This beam up here was the only beam in the house that had not been painted. There was a wall built here, and this was a bathroom, so we took the wall down and opened the living room back up to its original size. And because that beam had never been painted, we knew what color to match the house to. We put these doors back in, leading out into the patio area. We did not have the original doors, but there were doors here originally, so we were able to find some doors that fit.
Before we go on, I want to run over here for just a second because I see Harvey Lockridge,
Yes.
and I want to point out that Harvey Lockridge lived in this
Yes.
house up on the second floor, and he was the one who did the insurance exchange building.
And that's what that is, the Insurance Exchange Building. That's what we call it today. When Harvey Lockridge designed it, it was actually called the Boys Shop.
And that's the original drawing?
No, that's another building just around the corner, and that building is no longer there. It was a shopping center that Harvey designed for Wilson Patton, who owned this house at the time that it was turned into a duplex. Now, Harvey Lockridge lived in this house for 29 years, which was the prime. He lived here in the prime of his architectural work. So most of the downtown area that he built, he dreamt about in this home and then went down there and designed it. So we like to think that he dreamt about Long Beach at night when he was
Maybe
asleep.
I should say I was named after him, huh?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Now, up here, you can't miss these. This is a picture of me when I was a baby, and this is a picture of Chris when he was a baby. This is the second fireplace that's in the house, and we have a fire screen to help protect the women, because back in the day, the women's makeup had a lot of wax in it. So they had to have a fire screen to protect them from the direct heat, otherwise their face would melt. And then a lot of these tables and the couches we purchased from the previous owner that had lived here for 65 years.
Now, is this the tea room?
This is the parlor, yes. This is where the women would drink their tea and play their music. And that's what we use it for. Although I don't play the piano, but Chris does a very good job of it.
On this, don't you just have to push the pedals?
That's what you do, except that there's some pedals that are a little old, so they don't quite work. But the piano part itself, as long as you have fingers that know how to do the walking, it'll do the talking for you. This is a phonograph that we bought from the previous owner. She collected records, and you see here that they're all, how to make this thing see that. She has all the records in here. And then down on the bottom, she kept records. She kept records of all the records that she purchased and how much she paid for them. 25 cents, 15 cents. There's some in here for a nickel. But she has a record of everything that she's, all the records that are in here. Let's see, what else do we need to tell you about this room? The chandelier here is another example of the lights that are in the house. They're all period to the house. They're not original. The only one that's original is the one that's in the living room. We also have a curio cabinet over here that has all of the things that we found in the house as we were working on the house. We re-roped all of the windows. We've got rope in there that was from the house, some of the original wiring. We found some old newspapers in the walls. We found a postcard dated 1918 to the house when the Elliott Street was the address, which is out here. So the house has actually had a few different addresses over the years.
Beautiful staircase.
Yes, it is. And Jan Ward built this for us also. When we bought the house, to turn it into a duplex, they had put a wall here. And you came in the front and you went up to the upstairs, which is where Harvey Lockridge lived. And this room had been turned into a bedroom then. And
You had this all rebuilt?
this was still here. So Jan matched that to match this.
Wow.
Didn't she do a great job?
Very craftsman.
Yes, very much. And we picked the lights to go on the newel post to match what would have been here back in the time that it was built. The house was built. So let's go upstairs.
Nice little window seat.
Yes, and actually what that window would have been used for is back in the 1800s when someone passed away, you would put them in the casket and they would stay in the home for about a week. And the hallways the staircases are so small that when they bring the casket down, they couldn't turn the corners. So they put window seats on the staircase so that you could bring the casket down and have room to be able to turn it around. The chandelier that's above us here, originally you would have pulled it down from the hook and lit the gas, and then been able to push it back up. Now that there's electricity in it, you can't pull it down anymore. And again, you can see the floors throughout the house are beautiful and slightly different colors in every room.
Does it matter which way we're going?
Now we'll go this way. We call this the spare bedroom.
What an unusual name.
I know. Again, the chandeliers are all period to the house. These windows are different than any of the other windows in the house, and we believe it's because they would have taken the windows out to bring furniture up to the second floor. Because these windows are bigger than any of the other windows in the house. And we have 78 windows in the house and 48 doors.
Wow.
And as we were doing the work on the house, Chris and I personally carried every window and every door in and out of this house to have the paint stripped off of them and cleaned up. It was very important to us as we worked on the house too to keep as much of the original window panes that we could without breaking them. Because at night they're beautiful when the light comes through as the sun is setting.
Is that when they have the little imperfections in the windows?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They're beautiful. So let's go over here to the sleeping porch, which is now the TV room. In the summer, it's a great room to relax in. We open all the windows and the breeze comes through the room.
Now, would this have been open air at one time without windows?
No, yeah, we believe it always had the windows, but you open them up and then you get a nice breeze through here. But there's been some things that have been changed throughout the years, so we don't know, some of it we don't know what was original. The upstairs, when it was turned into a duplex, some walls were added. So when we did the remodel up here, we didn't remove any original walls. We moved some walls around, but any of the walls that we moved were added in 1918 because they were sitting on top of the floor, not in the floor. So now let's move down toward we'll go down the hall here to the original bathroom to the house. When we bought the house, there was a claw bathtub here, which has now been refinished and is now in the master bathroom. This medicine cabinet, you can see, has tin in the back to keep the medicine cool. And this was all the medicine that was found in the medicine cabinet when we purchased the home, so we kept it as a memento of the previous owner that was here. There's a water closet behind here.
Well, how many bathrooms do you have?
We have 4 bathrooms now.
Wow.
This is we won't go up there, but this is the staircase to the maid's quarters.
And that would be the third floor?
The third floor.
Would it just be a bedroom?
It's a bedroom up there, yeah. And we've rang the buzzer, and that maid still doesn't come down and serve us.
I'd fire her.
Yeah. This is the kitchenette. The house is so big that we decided when we were doing the restoration that we would keep this as a kitchen so that at night, instead of having to walk all the way downstairs to get a drink of water, we would be able to get a drink of water up here. And we've put a 1936 stove up here.
Does it work?
It does. We had it refinished so that we can't bake anything in it, but we can heat water on the top.
And that's a crawl space?
No, that's just a cabinet to be able to put food.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, and again, one of the chandeliers that is gas and electric.
Well, you had to buy a lot of chandeliers, didn't you?
We did, and Chris did a really good job of finding them on the internet through eBay, of finding chandeliers that were period to the house, and then we hired someone to rewire them and get rid of the gas. Now, we call this the Lockridge Suite because this would have been Harvey Lockridge's office when he lived in the house. So this is where he did all of his designing. This is a very unique room. The windows here, I'm going to go over and open the windows. They go all the way up into the ceiling. We call them suicide windows because you could jump out now, but we would ask you not to do that, though.
That's an unusual window opening, isn't
Yeah,
it?
everyone that's come to see it, and we've had quite a few historians come into the house, they said they have never seen windows that open quite that way.
Huh.
And the chandeliers here are the lamps. I think they call them hurricane lamps. We bought those all from the previous owner. So they've been with this house for a very long time.
The ghost of Harvey Lockridge doesn't walk the floors at night?
You know, we would hope that he would so that he could design something for us. But I don't know if you've seen this book, Long Beach Architectural.
Right.
The Harvey Lockridge is mentioned in this book 3 different times on different buildings that he built. These are some of the tools that he would have used back when he was doing his work here, and it has his name stamped on it right here. It says Harvey Lockridge. So, and this is the second city hall.
Oh, right. That's gone.
Right, and Harvey Lockridge and Horace
Austin.
Yes, designed the second city hall.
And now Harvey Lockridge did the Minnie Butler house down at Appleton and Junipero.
Right, where Chris and Lane live.
Right.
Yes. So now these 2 rooms were a porch at one time, and in the 60s they turned it into a bedroom. So we added a bathroom and a closet to the house. You can see. And we kept it as period as possible by putting the same kind of windows in it and the same heater vents. Of course, we had to have something modern, which is called a shower, that they didn't have back in those days.
I couldn't live without one.
No. Climbing in and out of one of those claw bathtubs is very difficult. So now let's walk down to the master suite. And this is the master suite, Harvey. When we purchased the home, this was the living room, and the bathroom was the dining room. That's what it was being used for in 1918. We don't know what it was before that, but it's now our master bedroom with all the windows. It makes a beautiful place to sleep at night because you wake up in the morning with lots of sunlight coming into the room. Then you go through the French doors and you come into the master bathroom with the claw bathtub that was the original claw bathtub to the house.
This is quite a spacious bathroom, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. With a nice large shower. And then the water closet is behind the wall there, so you have plenty of privacy for the purposes necessary. And again, we have the big windows that makes it very nice to be able to get lots of fresh air in the house at night. And we can watch the neighbors to see what they're doing.
I think with all the windows, they're probably watching you.
Yes, exactly, exactly. It's a funny story with the curtains on the windows here. I wanted them a little bit lower down, and Chris's aunt was over here, and she saw where we were going to put the curtains, and she goes, "You can't put them that low." I said, "Why not?" She says, "Because you'll be able to see a woman's."
Oh.
So we decided to raise them a little higher. And that's, let me show you if you're ever really tired at night and you can't quite get to the bed, you can walk up this, and then it has a dual purpose. It's also a porta potty.
And those used to be quite prevalent, though.
Yes, they were, right, because there was only one bathroom in the house. So if it was used, being occupied, you needed someplace else to take care of stuff.
Well, you've really done a massive amount of work in restoring this house.
Yeah.
I just can't believe all of this woodwork was painted.
All of it was painted. Now you can see in this room we painted it back to brown, but we still, before we put a coat of paint on it, we still even stripped these rooms.
Oh, I didn't even notice that this would be painted instead of...
Well, that's because we stripped it back. We stripped it so that when we put paint on it, it didn't look like it had 100 years worth of paint on there. And we picked a color, Chris picked a color that matches the rest of the wood in the house also.
This also is a large room, isn't it?
It is.
Now, I understand that this house is going to be on 2 upcoming tours.
It is, yes.
And
We're very excited.
one is going to be with Long Beach Heritage.
And that is August the 6th.
The other one is going to be Bluff Heights.
Bluff Heights tour, and that one is June the 25th.
And what about tickets and information and stuff?
You can go to longbeachhomebuyersguide.com and find out more information about the tours.
Is there a phone number that they can?
There probably is, but I don't know it.
And then this is also going to be on the Delights of the Heights tour with Long Beach Heritage on when? Sunday, June
The 25th?
25th,
Yes.
from 12 to 5. And they're going to have 5 houses. And for tickets and information, they can call 493-7019.
And on that tour, you're going to actually get to walk through some of the upstairs also.
Bluff Heights,
The Bluff Heights tour.
but on the Great Homes, or
It-
Delights of the Heights.
Right, that one's the June 25th. That one you'll get to walk through the upstairs. The Great Homes of Long Beach tour, which is, I've got them reversed, Harvey. The Bluff Heights tour is August the 6th,
Okay.
and the Great Homes of Long Beach tour is June the 25th.
And on one of them, they just,
The Bluff Heights, you're going to come through the August 6th, you're going to come through the upstairs and the downstairs. And on the June 25th tour, which is the Great Homes of Long Beach tour, we'll just be walking through the downstairs.
oh, okay. And you're in Bluff Heights, right?
We are in Bluff Heights. We are the largest home in Bluff Heights.
Oh, I can imagine that. Mike, I want to thank you for letting me come and see your spectacular home.
Thanks.
And I know people on the tours are going to be blown away when they see your house and all of the work that you've done. You know, it's so nice to see people take an interest and preserve some of the more significant.
Right. Well, we love the history of Long Beach. I moved to Long Beach 11 years ago, and I really like Long Beach and the history. So when we found this house, we decided that we wanted to preserve the history and help add a legacy to Long Beach.
And if anybody wanted to contact you, they could do it by?
MikeNorton.com.
Oh, that's simple.
That's simple.
All right,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you.
And that's our show for this time. Be sure and join us again next time as we take another walk through history and uncover more Long Beach treasures. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. We were here on the Queen Mary a couple months ago, but we didn't get anywhere near finished, so we're back today, and joining me today is Bruce Vansel, who is the Executive Director of the RMS Queen Mary Foundation.
Thank you very much. Yes, hi.
Thank you for letting us come back, because I've had so many people say, you didn't show this, you didn't show that, so I'm back, and show us.
Well, welcome aboard. We're delighted to show you. Right now, we're at the top of the stairs that takes us down to our engine room, and we're in the middle of an exhibit that we call Rivals and Running Mates. The purpose of this exhibit is to show people the environment business and social environment that the Queen Mary was developed in. She didn't just come out of somebody's imagination from nowhere. She was an answer to specific business needs, competitive needs, and social needs that were going on at the time. So we wanted to show people what that environment was. What were the other ships like? What were the running mates like? What was the competition on the transatlantic crossing like? So we've created a whole exhibit starting off with a lovely model of the Britannia, which was the very first Cunard steamship in 1840. Everything ocean liner grew out of that funny-looking little thing with basically a sailing ship with paddles. And even right up to the modern cruise ships, they all owe their heritage to that isolated little vessel bobbing around out there in the Atlantic.
So the display case is primarily showing the evolution of the steamship?
If you will, yeah. The display case talks more about things at the time that the Queen Mary was in service. So we've got some ships from the 60s, and from the 50s and the 40s and 30s. Of course, the 40s you had the war going on, so not a lot was being developed then, but things were in service. Some of these ships, actually most of them are gone right now. The QE2 is still around and sailing. Everything else that you see in that case is either gone or on its way out, including the SS France.
I see a big model over here. Could we check that out?
Absolutely.
Let's go over there.
This was the primary rival of the Queen Mary. This is the French liner Normandy. And she entered service a year before the Queen Mary. They rivaled each other, always trying to be the biggest and the fastest, so they kept building onto each ship, and they kept pushing those engines a little bit harder to see who was finally going to be the fastest, and the Queen Mary finally won out. The Normandy was incredibly advanced technologically. She was, for many people, one of the most beautiful ships ever built, but for some people, intimidating.
Was it a Cunard line ship?
No, she was the French line, CGT.
Looks like a Cunard orange on the smokestack.
It does, but you don't have the black bands crossing the funnels.
Who made the model?
This model and several of the others that we have in the museum were built by a priest, Father Roberto Peroni, from Los Angeles. And he spent 16 years building this model. It was all done by hand, and it came to the museum here at the end of last year.
This was all handmade by one man?
Every bit of it handmade by one man. He said this is what he did on his vacations. He hadn't taken a cruise or gone camping or anything for 16 years. He built this, and he's been doing it since he was a 13-year-old boy when he built the Titanic model out front.
He must have had divine inspiration.
Absolutely, and the patience of one of those monks who used to scribe Bibles for a living.
Did he do this one here also?
He did the Lusitania as well, yes. What's beautiful about these models is the side that we're looking at, of course. You get to see the exterior view, the beautiful lines, the gorgeous portholes, all the detail that he did to show what the ship looked like on the outside. When we go around the other side, it's a cutaway model that shows you the interiors.
This is really phenomenal workmanship, isn't it?
This is art, plain, pure, and simple. This is art. This is the height of one man's creativity. And basically, you can see we have some spaces here that kind of have nothing in them and some spaces that are very detailed. If he had a picture of that space and he knew what it looked like right down to the paintings on the wall, he would do it. If he didn't know, he left it blank.
Huh.
But this was the Lusitania from 1907. Here's the Cunard. You can see the black bands on the funnels.
Wow, this is just really, really detailed.
The detail is astonishing, right down to the pattern on the sofas and the chairs. And the art, like I said, the paintings on the wall are recreated in incredible miniature, obviously.
It's so deceiving when you see the other side, and then when you come over here and you see the interior of the ship, and even the theaters and everything.
The theaters, the pools, the lounges. We had some people from Christie's here last month looking at stuff, and Christie's frequently gets artifacts from the Normandy at auction because a lot of her interiors were being removed as she was being converted to a troop ship, and then she caught fire, burnt, and sank in New York Harbor. So a lot of the art and interiors have been preserved, but the ship is gone. And they were coming through, looking at the chairs, looking at the things in the model, going, oh yeah, we sold 2 of those at auction last year. Oh yeah, I remember that painting. We had that in there.
Well, this is phenomenal, but we've only got a half hour, so we have to move on. Where are we going next?
Let's keep on going.
Now, Bruce, one of the things that really impresses me is when you look down the hallway here where the staterooms are, the length of it. It's just unbelievably how unbelievable how long it is.
Well, this is one of the longest hallways on the ship. We're looking fore to aft here, and there's some people in the way, but this is a very popular place for people to come and get a look at this lovely space. Not only the length, but the unusual curve.
You know, it looks like there's a dip in the middle.
There is, and she's not sagging or anything. Back in the day when they built ships to go through any kind of weather and never come out with any harm, they built them on a curve, bow to stern, kind of banana-shaped. This is called the shear to the deck, and it just gives the ship strength. As you stack the decks with a curve, it is just so much more stronger to go through those big waves.
Let's walk on down here while you're talking.
Sure. It'll be a long walk if we go all the way. But you have, basically on either side of the ship, port and starboard, you have a hallway that goes end to end, basically. And then intermittently you have so the passengers can get around the ship easily. People tend to get confused on a ship, this one or any other one for some reason, but it's actually easier than a hotel. You have 2 hallways on each floor. One port, one starboard, and several chances to go up and downstairs.
But look, it just looks like it goes on forever.
It feels like it because the curve is so extreme. You're really from one extreme end. You can't see the other end without getting down on the floor and looking, and then you can really see it. People often come into the hotel going, ooh, I wish I had a skateboard. Don't do it, but it's an amusing thought.
This impresses me. Would it be possible to maybe check out a stateroom or so?
It's possible. Let's see what we can do.
All right. We're going to see a suite?
Yes, this would be a first-class suite that would be only for the richest, most powerful people in the world. It literally is a suite of rooms. You would bring your own maid along, and you wouldn't mix with the riff-raff crew that they had on board. Of course, you wanted only your trusted maid or valet to take care of you. And they had a private apartment for them. And then you have a series of rooms, and a couple of bathrooms. This would be the sitting room, and you could entertain in here. You could have it set as a dining room, have our dining room table brought in. That's fine too. In this particular suite, you see that the wall opens up there, it rolls away, and adjoins to the next suite. So if you had a couple of rich groups together, you could have a massive little party in here and never have to mix with the other passengers at all.
Is that another bathroom?
And that's another bathroom.
Wow.
They're everywhere. That one's for the guests. And then, of course, you go into the bedroom.
Oh, this is quite spacious, isn't it?
It's a tremendous amount of space. They don't do this even on cruise ships today. Very, very spacious, very comfortable. And, of course, the most modern materials and the most luxurious and artistic materials they had at the time.
Now, is this a door that leads back out to the passageway?
It actually leads to another bathroom.
Oh, God.
And there's doorways and little rooms and little closets and all kinds of little things tucked away and hidden. One of the things very important to note about these spaces, when we look at the beautiful Art Deco decor, this takes a lot of upkeep and maintenance. And the suites were actually, a couple of years ago, refurbished with money that was donated to the foundation. We do have the foundation here that is intended to preserve the historic fabric of the ship, the beautiful art, the beautiful decor. So we're supported by membership. If someone wants to join, you get a little membership card, and then you get free parking when you come down here. Or you can just flat out give a donation and be recognized as part of the group that's helping keep her afloat and keep her alive.
And I'm sure you'll accept it with a smile?
Oh, absolutely. All donations cheerfully received.
I can't believe, what, at least 3 bathrooms in this suite?
Yes, and do you like the fireplace?
Oh, is that a fireplace?
That's our fireplace. It was a little electric heater. The first-class cabins usually had those. All the suites, of course, had them. And that was a source of warmth for the passengers on board, as well as the ventilation system, the Ponca louvers, which were an ingenious little mixer, not different too much from modern automobiles, where you could turn it straight up to shut the thing. You could turn it for cool air, and that vented air from down on the deck. Over here, you could get warm air that was vented up from the boiler rooms, or you could mix it to set the temperature to suit.
This would be a comfortable way to travel.
It really was the ultimate, absolutely.
And the baths are quite nice.
And the baths are large and luxurious. In first class, they had private baths. In second class, you had a water closet, and you had to schedule to use the shower down the hall. In third class, you had a sink. You had to use public facilities throughout. And that was very common in the day.
Well, let's go check out one of the first-class cabins. I know it's not going to be this luxurious.
No, but the room we're going to see would be for your ordinary movie stars. This would be for the studio moguls.
Oh, okay. Now, this is going to be a first-class cabin?
Yes, this would be a first-class stateroom, and this would be what your normal wealthy individual would sail in.
And it's much smaller, not as luxurious, but still very comfortable.
Oh, in its day, this was the pinnacle of luxury. All the comforts of home, again, you've got the same ventilation system with the punka louvers, same quality materials on the wall, maybe not as much art, certainly not as large, but you've got your 2 portholes for an outside cabin. You've got room to sit. This is much larger than a cabin on an average cruise ship these days.
How original is this room?
It's pretty close to original. You would have a slightly different headboard than that. You've got the wooden built-in fixtures here with the punka louvers. The cabinetry is all very much original. You've got this beautiful closet over here. I just love the wood grain on the doors on that. Even right down to this old electric fan, which the ship didn't have air conditioning except in the dining room. And you've got this beautiful old electric fan that you could use. Of course, it doesn't operate now. We're on we're on alternating current now, as opposed to the direct current that they had back in the day.
Now, is this just another closet?
Actually, this would be access to the next stateroom next door if you were to buy adjoining cabins,
So
like
you could
adjoining
have
hotel rooms.
Back to back.
Yeah, back to back. You could have your family or friends or something next door if you wanted to.
All right. I could do a voyage in a room like this very comfortably.
Oh, I should hope. Yeah, life in first class was pretty nice.
Okay, where we're going next?
Next, let's go take a look at the art gallery.
All right, let's go. Now we're in the third class area.
This was the third class area in a space that once upon a time was part of the third class dining room. Today, it's our art gallery. And here we have art treasures that have been collected from all over the ship. Each one of them an original piece of art commissioned for the ship for a special purpose, for a special place. And today it's just on display, and you can kind of get the idea for what the height of the Art Deco era was.
Now these were positioned somewhere on the ship at one time?
Everything in here was somewhere else originally. And you've just got some beautiful pieces. Obviously, they had a chapel on board.
This is a beautiful bronze screen.
Yes. These are in the first class dining room. For one of the private dining rooms that was there.
Oh. These certainly are treasures, aren't they?
Absolutely. Again, every piece is an original work of art. Cunard Line hired the preeminent artists in England who knew the Art Deco style, who could produce pieces that would really be a nice testament to what the English Empire was all about. And the ship was just filled with it. Everything here is original.
Now tell me, are the flowers original?
I doubt it. If they are, they're well preserved. But
Curious.
But this was the rose bowl that sat on the captain's table in the dining room.
Aha, must have been a big table.
It was a very large table, and sterling silver. This was just the centerpiece.
Wow.
But sumptuous. Everything, the best of the best that they could do. England wanted to show the world that in the depths of the Depressions, they were still a force to be reckoned with, and the Queen Mary was that expression.
That's a great Art Deco clock.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
This was in the first class main lounge on the big fireplace, and it is just a stunning piece of art.
You know, even the furniture, the wood is absolutely spectacular.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the wood, because that was one of the main themes on the ship. She was the ship of beautiful woods, deliberately. There were 56 different varieties of wood used in this ship. In fact, some of those varieties of wood are actually extinct now. They no longer exist in the world. Those trees don't grow. It was an expression at the time, again, the power and the might of the British Empire. Each wood represented one of the holdings. Remember, the sun never sets on the British Empire, and each of these woods came from some part of the holding. It was a very powerful, although artistic, political statement.
I think I saw a friend of ours come in. Lavetta, get over here.
Okay.
I think you got a promotion since last time, didn't you? Vice President of Marketing and Communications?
Yes,
Well, good.
I can tell all about it.
Now we're back to, because we had so many people ask, why didn't you show this? Why didn't you show that? So here we are again.
Well, and you know, it's true. There's just so much to see and do here. It's absolutely true.
And I don't know where we're going next.
Well, I think we're probably going to share with you our Treasures of the Queen Mary Archive exhibit, which I don't know that you saw last time. It's some of the wonderful things from our archive that those involved in history will love to see. And also Sir Winston's.
Oh, yes, I want to see
and,
that.
And, of course, we want to show you the award we got as Ship of the Year.
Good. Which way are we going?
We're going to go this way.
Well, let's go. Okay, now, where are we going and what are we going to see?
This is a very special area called Treasures of the Queen Mary Archive, and we're in the midst of upgrading this area to include more on our launch and also the maiden voyage period. But this is all material that was socked away in the archive that no one could see. So a few years ago, our volunteers went through the archive, and our archivists pulled out all kinds of material and put together this great exhibit of things that had been hidden away. This first room is materials that the crew would have used, tools and things like that.
Is this a smokestack?
This is the crow's nest.
Oh.
And you can actually look up into the crow's nest.
Oh, I think we showed that last time.
Could be.
We're on the, I don't know where we are, but yet we
We're
showed.
at the bow, that's right. This originally was the mail sorting area for this ship, which of course was RMS Queen Mary, Royal Mail Ship. She delivered the mail, which was her main job to begin with.
I remember that because I said, how did they get up there? He said, there's stairs going up.
All the way to the top, that's correct. So have we seen this already? This one? Are we repeating? Okay. And then, of course, there are these rooms which show the various class staterooms on the ship when she sailed, when she first sailed.
What would this have been?
This is a typical look at the deck. You see the forward deck in the photograph, and then this is original furniture that would have been in that area. Some of the quoits and the games they would have played, the early magazines.
And this would have been...
This is the second class, or third class stateroom.
So there'd been two passengers to a room.
Well, there could have been more. There could have been 4 passengers or more to a room as well, with bunks and things. We couldn't show it all in this exhibit because it's the hull here. But it's got most of the original material.
Wow, this just keeps going back, doesn't it?
Yes, it's quite a large exhibit.
Is this open to the public?
Oh, yes, this is part of any tour. And hotel guests and those who are aboard may come here and tour this from 10 to 6.
This is
Oh, this is a first-class stateroom.
Wow, that's neat, isn't it?
And you know something? This is the original, these are original bedspreads from 1936.
Wow.
The curtain you see in the background there used to divide the King George and the Queen Mary suites when they had their big doors pulled open. So that's the original double-sided and embroidered tapestry wall hanging.
Is that your ball gown?
No, it's not, but that's my great-aunt's cape over there.
Oh, okay.
We all pitch in for these things. And this would have been the sitting room.
This is a great exhibit.
Well, and you know, one of the most fun places on the ship when she sailed was the Veranda Grill, which was the a la carte restaurant. And this area, this is the original piano from the Veranda Grill. This is an original table and chairs and table setting with some famous folks from the past there. We have
Tony Curtis
and Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis's mother, with the original linens and dishes and so forth. And then behind here are original dishes and also material from the kitchen. Some of the kitchen supplies over here are fun. And a look at what the kitchen might have been like.
Who polished all the silver?
Our volunteers do that, bless their hearts. We appreciate that very much. And of course, this is some of the silver and china, or silver and glassware that would have been aboard the ship.
Now, I think you wanted to stop in the steamship.
The steamship headquarters, Steamship Historical Society of America headquarters. I'm going to ask Bruce to lead you in there.
All right,
since he's the president, I'm only the vice president.
Let's go so that we can have time for the Sir Winston.
Excellent, let's go.
All right, I'm ready.
A really interesting space. It's the weekend headquarters of the Steamship Historical Society of America's West Coast chapter. They're the ones who co-hosted the wonderful 70th birthday party that you attended with us. And this is wonderful for the public because they can come here on the weekends, and the Steamship Historical Society will tell them all about all the other great ships, as well as the Queen Mary. This is Bruce Vansel, who's their president, and of course you already know he's our new executive director as well.
I know.
So let me just change hats here, and welcome to the Steamship Historical Society of America's West Coast headquarters.
Well, I'm pleased to be here. You had an excellent banquet the other night celebrating the 70th anniversary, and I have my pin on.
You sure do. I noticed that. Good for you. It was a good collaboration, I think.
It was a really great
So
program.
you have membership or members here who do tours on some weekends?
Well, they're here to help the guests with directions, answer questions about ships. It is inevitable that someone will come in and they sailed this ship or that ship, or their parents came over with us, and they want to talk about it and they want to look at it. Perhaps we have one of those ships in our model ship display here.
And these are all
They're all property of the Steamship Society that have been donated to them for the purposes of display. So we're the beneficiary of that.
They were all steamships at one time.
Different ships, yes, There's also a wonderful research library here in the steamship headquarters, and by appointment, folks can come in and ask questions and see those texts.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go on up to the Sir Winston.
Yeah, I'm hungry. How about you?
I just want to see it.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, this is the plaque you had mentioned?
Yes, and the Steamship Society, we were so honored to be named Ship of the Year for 2006. Of course, it's our 70th anniversary, but I think it was an award from a lot of folks who really love the Queen Mary and realize that she's the last of her kind.
It's always nice to be honored, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Good job. And congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. We were very, very proud to be able to give the Queen Mary the Ship of the Year for the 70th anniversary because it puts her instead with some other very fine preserved historic vessels, the Badger and the Yankee back on the East Coast. This is reserved only for vessels that represent a piece of history, that stand out as examples of preservation of maritime history, and it was just a natural thing to do this year.
Well, good. Let's go to the Sir Winston.
Off to lunch. Let's go.
Okay, now this is the Sir Winston.
This is the Sir Winston's restaurant. This is our fine dining establishment.
And this is?
John Bushevich, the manager maitre d'.
Well, thank you for letting us come and check out your fine establishment. Can we
pleasure.
go on in?
Please come on in.
Well, come on in, John.
Okay.
Well, as you can see, this is part of the dining room. There's also a wonderful bar at the other end where they serve various martinis and other wonderful libations. They have entertainment there on the weekends as well.
Thursday,
Wonderful
Friday,
singer.
and Saturday, sure.
How many does this seat?
One seating, I could put 250 in here. The restaurant is a lot larger than you see. It's like a big U shape. Comes up top
Wanna
here.
walk in?
Sure.
Sure.
Now, you're open 7 days a week?
7 days a week, 5:30 to 10.
And
By-
you know, this used to be the engineering quarters when the ship was at sea. And the gentleman who comes here every summer and does our interpretations of the engine room, his cabin used to be right up here.
Are you by reservation only?
Always recommended. Not necessarily required, but yes, recommended.
Okay.
And then look at this incredible,
This just keeps going on forever,
Yes,
doesn't
yes,
it?
yes.
look at this incredible panoramic view out here.
Oh, wow.
Okay, this is the fantail area right here. And some people prefer the Long Beach ocean side. Some like the top, just looking clear out to as far as the eye can see.
Well, this is unbelievable.
Is it
Oh, I
beautiful?
have eaten up here once, and I must say, the time I was here, it was absolutely outstanding.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Tell us a little about the menu, John.
Menu, continental. We have prime-aged steaks, fresh seafood. For those who want to be a little on the dangerous side, so to speak. We have rabbit, we have duck, we have venison, we have rack of lamb. Did I say rabbit already? Yes, we have rabbit.
We have some,
We have two
Okay.
rabbits.
So 2 rabbits. We got 2 rabbits. Yes,
you
yes.
have some,
Adventurous side, I should say. Yeah. So yeah, we got a pretty versatile menu. Jumbo prawns, scallops.
Excellent onions.
what are your hours of operation?
5:30 to 10, 7 days a week.
They also have some other private spaces here where there can be smaller group dinners and things like that. It's also a very popular spot for a wedding dinner after a small wedding.
Oh,
That's a delightful location for that.
I can imagine it would be.
Can I throw in something here?
Absolutely.
As someone who's been dining here for a great many years, I can say they have the finest chocolate souffle on the West Coast, and I've tried them all. Newport Beach, Los Angeles, to San Diego, some great places. You guys have the best souffle.
Ah, testimonial.
The martini sounded good to me.
Yeah.
Well, this is just outstanding, and I thank you for letting us come, and I'm going to have to come over here one of these evenings and have dinner. I'm assuming it's coat and tie?
Ties are optional. Jackets are requested but not required.
Okay, I'll have to get out of my Levi's for one night.
Yes, you'll have to do
something,
that.
We so appreciate your coming here to visit us for a second time. And as we were saying as we were walking through the ship, you can't see it all in one visit. Every time you come here, you discover more things you want to see.
And I have to come back
there's a lot to do here.
because I have things on my list we didn't have time to get to today.
Great.
So I'm going to have to do a third show. Maybe we can finish up then. Maybe, who knows, a fourth one.
Who knows?
Sounds good to me.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for letting us come, Bruce and Lavetta
Jeff.
and John.
Pleasure.
And that's our show for this time. Come back and join us again next month as we take another walk through history and uncover more Long Beach treasures. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're going to visit another one of the 17 historical districts here in the city of Long Beach. And joining me right now is Tom Belstor, and he is a resident here in this district, and the official name of this district is?
The Craftsman Village Historic District.
And did it used to be known as the Hellman District?
It's also known as the Hellman District because Hellman Street, a lot of Hellman Street is part of the district, so it's also known by that name, but the official name now is actually the Craftsman Village Historic District.
And this is one of the oldest districts, historic districts in the city?
That's right. It's a small historic district, but it was formed in 1992, which makes it one of the oldest ones in Long Beach.
You know, the reason I really wanted to do this show is just to point out that not all of the 17 historical districts in the city of Long Beach are on wide, tree-lined streets with upscaled, expensive homes. This is a probably middle-income area. The homes are much smaller. What defines it as a historic district?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing that historically not everyone was rich, but you wouldn't know it nowadays from many cities in the United States where historic districts are often the very upscale, pricey areas. But in Long Beach, we're fortunate to have a lot of more working class or middle class neighborhoods that are very historic. This neighborhood, most of the homes were built in the between about 1905 and 1925, with most of them right between 1915 and 1920. Many people worked at the Pike. Many people worked with Balboa Studios, the early film production area that's just a few blocks from here, right, we're on 8th and Walnut, so we're only about 4 blocks from there. So there's rumors that people like Fatty Arbuckle used to rent or have staff that would rent in this neighborhood, and many workers from the Pike were here. So for instance, the family that for 80 years owned the home next door ran the apple cider stand at the Pike for 40 years. So this area does have a lot of history connected to Long Beach, and even though the homes aren't that large, many of them are 900 to 1,400 square feet, they've got a lot of character and a lot of history, and the neighborhood as a whole has a lot of interesting history.
Now, you're a professor at the University of California at Irvine.
Uh-huh.
You could live anywhere you wanted. selected?
Well, not quite.
Why did you select this
Why
area?
did we select here? I mean, an interesting thing that actually we've been talking to the city of Long Beach is that professors' salaries around the United States are about the same. So if I was back in Nebraska, where I'm originally from, my salary would probably allow me to have a pretty big house. But here in California, professors are often looking for affordable housing because, as you know, housing is so expensive in California. Actually, the next door neighbor that just bought last month is a professor at Cal State Long Beach. Now, I would have had the option of having subsidized basically housing on the UC Irvine campus. It's the only UC campus that actually provides that because of how expensive housing is in this area. But I didn't want to live right near campus in a very new house. I wanted to have a place with some character and some history. And I was really attracted to this part of Long Beach and to this neighborhood. And so it was a really good fit for us.
What's the average price of a home here in your district?
Well, I mean, it really varies. Right now, the homes are incredibly expensive, in my opinion. They're going for between about $450,000 and $520,000. This home we bought in 1999 for $157,000, which was considered a good deal then and certainly would be now. But the price of housing has gone up here as it has everywhere else. And so we're basically now looking at a neighborhood of $500,000 homes, even though, as I've said, it in many ways has a history of being a very working class, middle class neighborhood, and the homes aren't that large. But we're close to the beach and they have character, so they're becoming
I want to
valuable.
go in and see your house. I know that you're undergoing some more restoration. You're redoing the original bathroom, and so it's maybe some obstacles we have to jump over, but can we go in and look at it?
Absolutely, and it's maybe sort of fitting for a program like this because what we often find is that some of these homes were remodeled in the 60s and 70s and 80s. They weren't always taken care of as best they could be. And so part of what many people are doing in this neighborhood is actually undoing damage and trying to restore the homes to make them as historical as can be.
And I think you'll show us an example of that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Let's go on in.
Okay.
Okay, now you said you've lived here since 1999?
That's right.
And the square footage of your home is?
The main part of the home is around 1,100 square feet, I believe, and then we've made about a 500 square foot addition onto the back, where there actually had been an addition in the past that was not historic.
Now, is this room basically original?
This room is basically original. There's still popcorn on the ceiling that needs to come off, and when we moved in, there was carpet and siding on the walls and all of that, but we were very fortunate that the wood trim was never painted over. And so we know from some historical photographs that we have that that this is fairly original. And it was a man who was a real estate kind of guy, built this house with his wife and 3 daughters. One of the daughters, who's in her 80s now, has come back in the last couple years to see the house. So we know, for instance, that these shelves underneath here is where she kept her toys when she played as a girl. And this front bedroom was where she slept.
Is this was this a bedroom in here?
This was a bedroom. This was this was her bedroom, the daughter who came to visit. And there's a small secretary here. We're pretty sure that the home was never built with a fireplace, and those drawers underneath is where she kept her childhood toys.
Can we go on back?
Yep.
Now, you said something about there used to be a window here or something?
Right. There used to be a window here, and so one of the big remodeling things that we'll be doing, and hopefully within a year or so, is to reconstruct this kitchen. We won't make it exactly original because we know that this kitchen was originally 2 rooms. You can sort of see from this seam that the original kitchen ended right here. Kitchens were very small during that period.
Well, that would have been a small kitchen, wouldn't it?
And we actually know there was a very small kind of breakfast nook here where the family would sit, the 3 daughters and the mother and father, and the father would have to pull his chair out and block this doorway to sit for them to eat breakfast, we know. So it was very small and very cramped, and then this was a small utility room, and then these were the stairs to the original backyard. So when we reconstruct this kitchen, it will be to give it a 1920s feel, but we'll keep it full size. We won't go back to a half-size kitchen.
I think you have some pictures here of your house, the original.
Yeah, we can sort of set a couple of these here like this. This is the oldest photo that we have. This is from the daughter. This is probably from around 1920, 1921. So you can tell everything is very small. The trees haven't grown yet. And, but the house looks very similar to how it does today from the front. So we're very happy about that. This is probably from the mid-1930s, after the quake of 1933. We know that because the next door house that you can see is even with our house here, has by 1933 been moved to the back where it still sits to this day. So this is probably from the mid-30s, and these photos are from the late 1930s.
Do you think your house was heavily damaged in the 33 quake?
We know that it slid off the foundation, but there was not much serious damage to it other than kind of the brick oven in the back here being destroyed. They put it up on a new foundation, and when we did the building of this back room, we discovered a brick pathway that was buried about 12 inches under the ground over the years. And we know once again from the family that those bricks were the original foundation to this house. They took the broken bricks and made a walkway out of them. And so now I'm using them to make flower beds, and it's sort of interesting to know that those bricks once held up this house.
And this room is an addition you put on back here?
So this room was an addition that we added about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow, this is quite large and nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great room. Roger Peter Porter was the architect who designed it, who's a well-known architect in Long Beach.
I love his name, Roger Peter Porter.
Yeah. And there were some additions made in the 1970s, very low, leaky rooms added on that we knew needed to be replaced. And with the amount of space that we had, we didn't want it to be any bigger than this because we wanted to keep some backyard.
That's sort of a unique little area up.
It is. Well, what happened is, with the architect's recommendation, we decided to do one large room because we didn't want to take up any more space in the backyard than the additions had already taken up. So we decided to do one large room, and cathedral ceilings like this were done during the arts and crafts period. They weren't necessarily always done on homes in this neighborhood, but they were done, and when they were done, they would be done with box beams, very much like you see here. And this loft area was not originally in the architect's drawings designed to be used. It was actually just the area above the laundry room and bathroom that had been added. But we realized it could support a person's weight, so we have a small office up there. And we actually had to order a library ladder all the way from New York. They're hard to find nowadays, but we had a library ladder added that rolls so that you can move to get access up there and can have a little area up there to work. So once again, this room is not historic in the sense it wasn't here originally, but we tried to make it look as historic as possible. Even details like what are known as flush pulls. This is how, if you had a cupboard in the 1920s, this kind of flush pull is what was used. So we tried to replicate the feel of a 1920s room as closely as possible, even though obviously this isn't historic. Especially if we take a look at the outside, we made it to match the front part of the house as closely as possible.
Let's go out and look at the side of the house where we can really pinpoint what restoration is all about.
Okay. Do you want to take a look at the back real quick as well?
We can while we're here.
Yep, I can just show. If the light's right, you can see. These are some of these old bricks from the house mixed in there from the original foundation. But so if you look at the back of the house.
Oh, it fits in very well with
right.
the front of the house.
And this is all 3 years old. This is all new. But we went to the expense of having redwood siding and having the design match exactly what was in the original part of the house. So in a way, it isn't a restoration. This room is not original to the house. When the daughter walked into it, she almost fainted. She's like, this was not here. But we tried to make it respect the character of the house as much as possible. And this is an issue in this neighborhood more generally, because as I mentioned, this was a working class neighborhood, and many of the homes are quite small. Some of them are 900 square feet, 1,000 square feet. Many people want to add to the homes because they're so small. And what we want to try and avoid is some kind of McMansion effect where the historic character of the neighborhood and the scaling of the neighborhood is destroyed. But we understand, all of us in the neighborhood, that these homes are small and often people want to expand them. So we also did this as to try and show people in the neighborhood an example of how you can have a larger house, you can expand these homes that in many cases are quite small, but do so in a way that respects the character of the house and the feel of the neighborhood so everyone wins.
Inside the great room, you have a feeling that it's new, but looking at it from this vantage point, you get the feeling it's old.
That's our hope. That was the idea, is that especially from the outside, people, our neighbors or people in the neighborhood wouldn't feel like some new thing had been tacked onto the back of this historic home.
All right, let's go check out the other one.
Okay.
Okay, this is an award for excellence from the Cultural Heritage Commission. Is that for the restoration of this room?
That's for this room, right, which really wasn't a restoration, but has the feel of it, or for designing a room that respects the historic character of the home and the neighborhood.
By the way, Tom, looking at the name, I mispronounced your first name when we started.
Well, Belsdorf is not an easy name to pronounce, so don't worry about
it's
it.
correct.
All of our German immigrants, families.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Okay, now, Tom, obviously, this section here does not match the original house. Now, you're going to make some changes here and restore it to basically what it was?
Right. This is an example, once again, of trying to undo damage that had been done. Probably during the 70s or 1980s, the people who were living in the home at the time, who were not the original owners, decided to put in a fiberglass shower in the original bathroom, and there wasn't wall space for it, so they simply tore out one of the original windows and put in a new window up high, and then didn't bother to actually replace with redwood siding. They just put up some regular pine wood or whatever, as you can see, and we're now beginning the process of restoring this bathroom. And as part of that, we are fortunate to have from the neighbors a photo from the 1950 that shows the exact position of that missing fourth window. And from the three remaining ones, we'll be able to reconstruct a replica of the destroyed window and then add in redwood siding around it. So it will be as close as possible to the original look of the house.
That's a great example of how restoration should be done.
Right, and you can, I mean, it looks better for all of the windows are supposed to be of an even height. It will allow more light in the bathroom, and as people often say about historic districts, historic preservation is not about stopping change, it's about managing change. And it's about respecting these homes, and they change over time, but to do so in a way that respects the original feel, and there's no reason why this has to be there. We can have a perfectly workable modern bathroom that has windows that look like it was still built in 1919.
Let's go check out the neighborhood to give the viewers a idea of what the historic district is like.
Okay, great.
Okay, I've noticed all of these are craftsman homes, and this is indicative of the neighborhood, right?
Yep, lots of craftsman homes, similar size and massing, many of them in very good historic condition. Like this one still has a working Murphy bed, and the interior's in very good condition. Some of them, as in the case of my front bathroom, have been damaged over the years, but a lot of them have not. So that's one reason why this was designated a historic district.
Now, this is a typical craftsman bungalow, and this would be about how many square feet?
This would be about, I'm always bad at estimating square feet, but these are around 1,000 to 1,300 square feet. I think most of the homes in the neighborhood of this type.
Now, I noticed some of the homes are stuccoed. Were they originally wooden and they stuccoed over them?
For the most part. Now, during the arts and crafts period, there actually was some stuccoing that would happen. It was often just up to about 8 feet that there would be some stucco, but it was fairly rare. So many of these, the stucco was added over the years, but once again, that's something that can be removed over time, and in many cases, it's actually preserved the wood underneath. So it's not a major issue in terms of the historic preservation. It's something that can always be dealt with over time.
Now, as I look down the street here, they're all craftsmen.
Yep, and that's why it's Craftsman Village, because there's 2 or 3 Spanish Revival homes in the neighborhood, but it's almost all craftsmen, the vast majority.
Let's go check out, what is it, Tivoli Walk?
Toledo Walk.
Toledo Walk. Okay, we're on our way.
Okay.
All right, now this is the famous Toledo Walk.
Well, it's not famous to most people. They still confuse it with the Toledo down in Belmont Shore area.
Now, this is really unique, isn't it?
Yeah, this is one of the only walk streets in the city of Long Beach where the homes face each other. And it's once again mostly craftsman homes, but a couple Queen Anne. They're just repainting their house right now. They put on a new roof. And this is called a prairie style home. There's a couple prairie style on this as well. And it's a great little street.
Let's walk on down. Now, the first thing that popped into my mind with these homes on this little walk facing each other, do they have garages?
Some of the ones in the interior actually do not. Some of them have very small yards. The ones on the ends, there's an alley that cuts through the middle of this, they have garages. But for instance, this home does not have a garage. I'm pretty sure this one doesn't either. But as you can see, there's a lot of people doing restoration work to their homes right here on the Toledo Walk, and it's really going to improve it. It's really a wonderful little gem that we have in this historic district.
You know, some people may think that this may not be the safest neighborhood in the city of Long Beach. What's the, give me your feel on it.
Well, you know, Long Beach is a city. It's an urban environment, definitely. And one thing that we've struggled with is the attitude that, you know, oh, this is a ghetto area, this is a dangerous area, this is a bad area. But in terms of what we see in the neighborhood, the reality is that it's a diverse neighborhood, and that if you go to the trouble of educating people about historic preservation, whatever their own background, they care about it. They care about their homes and they want to improve them. And we do a lot of stuff with our historic district group in terms of, you know, watching out for each other's homes or worrying about those kinds of issues of crime. But it's really no worse here than it is anywhere else, I don't think. You know, I'm happy walking around here at night. We really work together, and we're really trying to work against that image that all of downtown Long Beach is struggling with, that it's not a safe area. It's still that legacy of suburban flight. But what we find is that it's a very tight-knit neighborhood where people really take care of each other, and, you know, I could choose to live in Irvine, but I don't. I like living here.
Toledo Walk ended at 7th Street?
Toledo Walk runs between 7th and Hellman, and it's a very old street. There's some folks who have memories of World War II servicemen lining up down the walk to go ship out. So it's, you know, it has a lot of history, and it's one of the only walk streets of its kind in Long Beach.
Now, do you have a strong neighborhood association here in the district?
We have a very strong neighborhood association. We have a historic group that's an informal group. It's not an official nonprofit or whatever, but we do a lot of work together to do plantings on the parkways, to pick up trash in the neighborhood. We put out a newsletter every 2 months that's in English, Spanish, and Cambodian, and sometimes Vietnamese as well. And so we're going to do a yard sale in a couple weeks. So we do a lot of different things to bring the neighborhood together that isn't always about historic preservation only. We do a lot of different kinds of events, but historic preservation is definitely, we found it to be a very useful tool for preserving the neighborhood, but also for bringing neighbors together.
You know, when we were walking over here, I noticed that they had the street blocked off with some basketball courts and stuff. What was that all about?
Well, an issue that once again isn't specific just to this historic district, but to this whole area, is that there's a real shortage of park space. Bixby Park is quite a ways away. There aren't any parks nearby, and it's a real, you know, issue for kids in the neighborhood. And so one thing we've been looking into is trying to create more even pocket parks, or taking over some abandoned lots to make park space, because this neighborhood doesn't have a lot of park space, and so that's something that we've been working on.
Let's go back. I think we have one other place to check out.
Great.
Okay, we're at another home right now, and we're going to see an example of an addition that almost looks like it belongs.
Yeah, another great example of someone who made their home larger but did so in a way that really respects the look of the original house and looks wonderful, as you'll see.
Well, let's go in and look at it. Ah, and here's the homeowner now. This is Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
You did an excellent job of recreating what looks like an authentic original room.
Thank you very much. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but we did do it. We built this room because we went to South Dakota to pick up my grandmother's furniture, and it's about 100-year-old Rush furniture.
Wow.
And we were either going to move to another neighborhood with another bedroom or another room, or add on. So we decided to add on this room so we could put her furniture in here. And
let's introduce him.
This is Alex, my son.
Hi, Alex.
Hello.
Yeah, we got the crown moldings at Design Build Classics. Should we name places?
Sure, that's
and
fine.
Windows from Castillo Sash and Window.
I have the same molding in a lot of my house, a lot of my rooms in the house.
Okay, and
I just really, that's what really caught my eye, is how you've recreated that old-fashioned molding.
Yeah, exactly. And I always admired, it was another neighbor's, I guess that's called a slipper chandelier, and I always admired that, and hers, and I just loved it. So I bought that from Rejuvenation Lighting, I think it's called, and I love that. So.
Now, how long have you lived here?
About 14 years.
And the square footage of your house is?
I think it's 1237 with this
okay.
addition.
And you're very active, I understand, in the neighborhood association.
Yeah, ever since we moved in here, we've been working to try to improve the neighborhood, and started off as a neighborhood watch group, and then we eventually became a historic district, and we've been working hard ever since. We're very community involved here.
It seems like you're making progress, because as you walk around the neighborhood, it looks a lot better than I think it did a few years ago.
Yes, it has. It's definitely improved. We have so many nice new neighbors here who add to that, and who really care about the homes and want to restore them and make them beautiful. And
are most of them owner occupied, or
yes.
are there a lot of rentals?
Yes, this is mostly owner occupied now, but when we first moved in, it was about 50%.
So that explains why the neighborhood is picking up,
yes.
because of pride of ownership.
Yep, exactly.
Ah, good deal. All right. Thank you for letting us drop in unexpectedly. I know you're embarrassed because you didn't want us to come in, but we just had to come in and see your house.
Thank you very much.
And this is Michelle Eckhoff.
Oh, okay. Hey, before we go, as we were walking in, I noticed across the street there was a brick house which looked unusual and out of place in the neighborhood. What's it about?
That's the only, to my knowledge, Chicago-style bungalow, they call them, that has that kind of brickwork on the outside in the neighborhood. And that home was built around 1920, like many of the other bungalows in the neighborhood, most of them.
It's just an unusual-looking house with all of the craftsmen. You have an all-brick house.
It is. That what they call Chicago-style is, Chicago's not in California, and it is an unusual style to have in California. But there are some. There are a few of them in Long Beach, and that's one of them.
That answers my question. And Tom,
thank you
so much.
Thank you
for letting us come and take a tour of your historic district. And Alex, thanks for stopping by. And that's our show. Thanks for watching. Come back again next month as we take another walk through history and uncover more Long Beach treasures. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're at an institution that's been around for many, many years, the Long Beach Daycare Nursery. And joining me is the Executive Director, Pat Wong. Pat, welcome.
Thank you.
Now,
for joining us.
Is this the original location for the nursery?
Actually, it isn't. The first location was on what is now Long Beach Boulevard, American Avenue, and we were founded in 1912, so we've been around for a long time.
Now, why would you need a daycare nursery in 1912? Because mothers wouldn't be working. They would be home as housewives and mothers.
Well, that was true for a lot of the population, but there were a great deal of working parents, working families at that time. Florence Bixby, who was one of our founders, was, of course, with the Bixby Land Company, and many of the working families that were, or the workers that worked for her and the company, had need for quality care in those days. So that's how it originally started, and then it expanded in the subsequent years with the war years, the First World War, and then subsequently the Second World War. As more and more women needed to be out of the home, there was an increasing need for quality care and education for young children.
Now, don't you have a second location?
Yes, we do, on the east side of Long Beach, on Bellflower and Carson.
And I'm assuming you're open Monday through Fridays?
Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. to accommodate the needs of working families.
Now, is there a charge for your service?
Yes, there is. There is a tuition scale. Everybody is responsible for a weekly tuition payment. It varies depending on the age of the child, but we do have financial assistance available for those families who fall below certain income thresholds.
I'm almost positive that the tuition would not meet your needs and costs.
Oh,
so
that's very true.
Where do you get the extra?
The extra comes from the support of the community and from individuals, corporations, and foundations. Our tuition actually only covers about 75% of our costs, and the balance has to come from contributions, charitable contributions.
Now, is there an age group or age limit?
The oldest we serve is 6 years or first grade, and the youngest at our East Branch is 6 weeks, and here at the West Branch it's 18 months.
So you're not really focused on the academic aspect of education?
That's a myth. Preschool and early care and education, while not academic in the true sense of the word, is educational, and it prepares children for life, it prepares children for school. Children at this age learn through play. They learn key social skills. They learn how to share, for example. We'll wait for the UPS truck to go by here. But they learn things like how to share, how to wait their turn. Mealtime even becomes an educational experience where they learn how to serve themselves, and the teachers talk to them about the food and about the nutritional value of food. And, for example, if we're serving peas that day, we talk about the shape of the peas and the color of the peas and how many peas there are on the plate. So this is how children learn at this age. It's not about sitting at a table and filling out forms and doing drills, but our entire curriculum is focused on life and school preparation.
Are you self-contained here, or do you take the children out on field trips?
We have field trips for the pre-Ks, which would be our oldest group of children, those getting ready for entry into kindergarten, and we do 3 field trips right now every year for those children. One trip to the Cabrillo Marine Museum, one trip to Centennial Farms, and one to Atlantis Park.
You ought to bring them up to Rancho Los Alamitos.
We could do that. I think in the past we have. The number and the types of field trips change every so often, and I remember reading in some of our records that we have brought them up to the rancho in the past. So
Florence would appreciate it.
She would, and moving in the towards the future, we probably will look at changing up our field trips a little bit.
I was standing out here a little earlier waiting to go on, and I noticed a small school bus pull up. Do you have private transportation or public transportation?
Actually, the school bus is for those children who are in need of speech therapy. Long Beach Unified School District has speech therapy services available for children identified as having to need some help there from age 3 on up. So we're working with a child and we feel that there's a need for therapy. The school district sends the bus over to pick those children up every day and take them to where they receive therapy, and then brings them back to the school.
Can we go in and see what you have to offer?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, let's go. I like the Spanish style of architecture.
Oh, it's lovely. It was built in 1926 by architect Kenneth Wing.
This is a Kenneth Wing
This
design?
is a Kenneth Wing design. It's fabulous.
Oh,
It's a very important building in Long Beach.
Any building that Kenneth Wing designed is important.
I understand that he did this while he was still in school. He was still at USC at the time, so it was one of his very early projects. And the money to build it and to purchase the land was raised by the Rotary of Long Beach. I think the total cost was $25,000 at the time.
Wow. This is one of the classrooms?
This is one of the classrooms here. This is room 4.
Now you have them classroom set up according to age group?
They're pretty much by age. This is a mixed age group. Generally, between the ages of 3 and 5, we have mixed ages. We find that the older children like to take care of the younger children, and the younger children work to aspire to be like the older kids. So mixed age groups are a lot of fun for everybody.
And we have some little butterflies, or?
Looks like ladybugs, I think.
Oh,
and there's a ladybug over there and a butterfly. Yeah, that's part of the dramatic play area, which is a really great way for children to learn self-expression and creativity and to act out their everyday life. It's a lot of fun for the kids.
How many staff members do you have?
Altogether, through both sites, we have almost 90 people.
Oh, that's quite
Yeah,
a large.
quite large.
Can we talk to any of the children? Are they cleared?
Sure, yes, I think they are. I think all the ones that we'll see today are okay if you want to
Let me go
walk
ask.
in.
Let me go talk to the. Hey, I have a question to ask you. What's your name?
Mauricio.
And what are you, a little ladybug? You are. Do you like school here? You do? What happened to your teeth?
And the doctor just take it out.
Did you find anything under your pillow? Did the tooth fairy leave you something? Huh? And who are you? Come here, don't be bashful. What's your name?
Katia.
Oh, and what are you, a butterfly?
Yeah.
Ah, you look like you're bashful. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for talking to me. They're cute, aren't they?
They're adorable in this age. They're having a lot of fun. Getting back to the question of staff, we have a large staff because our ratios are very low between the teachers and the children, and that maximizes supervision, also facilitates better bonding between the adults and the children.
You have quite a large play area out here, don't you?
This is a luxury. If this site were built now, in this day and age, we probably wouldn't have quite as much land. But because it was purchased so many years ago, we're just blessed with a large play yard. It far exceeds the requirements for playgrounds. And we just recently redid this. It's about 3 years now, where it was re-landscaped and upgraded and updated, and it was deliberately designed to be very park-like.
Is the Assistants League one of your supporters?
Yes, they have been. We have many board members who are Assistants League members. They continue to support us in many ways. They built the original structure that you see there, which has seen a couple of renovations over the last few years, but the structure still stands.
I'm going to walk over here and see this budding little artist.
Okay.
Hi there. What's your name? David. What are you painting? Huh? Do you know? Huh? How do you like school? Is it fun? It is? All right. Hi, who are you?
Hi.
What's your name?
Stephen.
Stephen? Oh, big bicycle there. Oh, you got big bright eyes. Having fun? Good.
They get camera shy.
I'm sure they probably do.
But this yard here is designed to be park-like because there's so very little green space. And
my dad got my Spider-Man movie.
Really?
My daddy got superhero.
Oh, good. Where else are we going to go?
Well, we can go around this corner here. This yard is mainly for the older children, 4 and 5. When they're a little younger, 18 months to 3 is sort of transitional, but the younger kids have their own area. The very youngest ones are behind a gate over there, just to keep them a little separated from the older kids. They get pulled over sometimes, and then the ones that are a little bit older are behind that area there, so we can go and visit with them.
Okay, we can walk over this way. Wow, this just keeps going, doesn't it?
It is. It's a large property. We're very, very lucky.
Do you need to secure the gate?
I think we're okay. The teachers can watch here. But this is for the younger kids. As you can tell, they're a little bit smaller. Probably 3 years old, some of the older 2s. When they're really young, you know, we keep them in the small area. Hi. But there's, as you can see, the equipment here is scaled down a little bit. You know, it's a little bit easier than, less challenging than the equipment we have on the other yard, to keep it in line with the age appropriateness.
Now, do the kids come from all over Long Beach?
Yes, they do. Actually, they come from all over Long Beach. At this site, most of the kids are from the immediate neighborhood, but there are some from outside the immediate neighborhood as well. We have the ethnic balance mirrors our city, mirrors the community.
So it's a very diverse.
It's very diverse, both ethnically and in terms of social economic status. So we have a broad mix of children. We always have. You know, our mission is to serve families or children of working families, so they come from all walks of life.
I know when this is going to be shown, it probably won't be as hot as it is right now, but it is hot.
It's very hot out here, and that's why we have the umbrellas and the shade, plenty of water activities, and, you know, a mix of indoor and outdoor activities, so the children aren't outside for extended periods of time.
There's not a hose going around that they can run through.
You know, once a week, they rotate through the classroom, so we do have water play with a hose and, you know, a swimming pool, the whole bit, so it's a lot of fun. In September, it'll start to cool off, and then in the winter months, they'll do more indoor activity. But we try, even in the winter, to keep kids outside at least an hour or 2 every day, because it's good for them. It's good for them to get physical exercise. Whoops! Sorry, honey.
All right, now where?
Well, let's go around and come back through one of the classrooms over here.
Okay.
You can see a little bit more of the facility here, but. These are lemon trees. The kids, you know, pick the lemons, make lemonade. We'll play area here.
Facility.
It's a very large. Here we have an art area. You can see there's some shade here, offers some relief from the sun. But yeah, it's a huge, beautiful, beautiful property. We really love it. And we actually have room to grow. If we ever decide that we're going to grow, we do still have some room. So
now, on the second floor?
The second floor are all administrative offices right now. Our business office is up there. But that originally was quarters for teachers. Back in the early part of the century, teachers actually lived upstairs.
Oh, really?
So our bedrooms, bathrooms, sitting areas, and they've all been converted to offices. But it still feels very home-like. They don't feel like normal offices up there. As you can see,
some budding artists.
We have a lot of artists here, and they use all kinds of different things to make their art. There's a ricer that she's using and a whisk. We get very creative in the type of materials that we use. Yeah.
What are you making?
I did.
Huh? What are you making? What are you making?
What are you making?
Cat got your tongue? Huh?
What are you making?
I guess you don't want to talk, huh? No? Okay. Wow.
I can show you one of the classrooms. We go through here. This is a classroom actually for younger children. This from at 2 years old, maybe up to 3. The children in this room are not yet potty trained, so we have, you know, the diaper changing table. They're just starting to learn potty training. But this is a smaller classroom, smaller kids. They're all out in the yard right now.
Now, when they first come here, they probably haven't acquired the social skills to intermingle. Is it difficult to
Now,
adjust?
children are very social, and there might be some initial shyness, depending on whether they're used to other kids or not, depending on their home situation. But once they get here, there is very little transition time before they're mingling and interacting with all the kids. It's wonderful to see. We practice what is called primary care groups and continuity of care, so that we keep teachers with the same children as much as possible. So they start to form attachments, and they become, it just facilitates better social skills, because they have a consistent environment with one adult and a consistent number of children around them at all times.
You said you had a large staff because you had a low ratio.
Low ratios.
What would be the normal ratio for children to an adult?
It depends on the age. Here we don't have infants, but at our East Branch we have infants. That starts at 6 weeks, goes up to 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And that will be 3 to 1, 3 children to 1 teacher. And very often it's even lower than that, because we have floaters and we have lead teachers and things like that, but it's a minimum of 3 to 1.
So that's almost a nursery.
It is. It's terrific to have that kind of ratio. And then as they get older, the ratios get a little higher because the children are older. From 18 months to 3, it's 4 to 1, and then from 3 on up, it's 8 to 1.
Little different. I taught high school for 30 years, and mine was about 35
to 1, yeah. Well, it's a shock for some of the kids when they go to kindergarten, and it's 20 to 1. So they're going from 8 to 1 to 20 to 1. But these are all ratios determined by our accrediting body and by the State of California Department of Education to be optimal ratios, and we adhere to those religiously, because we really believe that they're important to have that low ratio.
Does this go on in?
Yes, this goes on in here. We have our science room. This is not a classroom, it's a resource room. We can bring children in here. It's all focused on science activities. To build an early love for science and an appreciation of science, everything from bugs to plants to rocks and textures. They have a sand table. Lots of dinosaur animals, and it's a great resource room for the kids, and they rotate throughout all the classrooms.
How many classrooms do you have?
In this site we have 5 classrooms. At the other site we have 9.
Was the other site larger?
The other site's larger. It has about 130, 135 children. This site has about 90 children.
And when was that site open?
Originally opened in the 60s and then remodeled in late 1998, 99, and it was completed in 2000.
So it was an addition to this?
It was, yes.
Just to service another area?
Another area of Long Beach, yes. And that property is built on Hot Rail Park. So we are, the city of Long Beach is our landlord over there.
Oh. Are they a good landlord?
Yes, they are, actually. They are. Very good landlord.
Are we going into another room?
We can go to another room, and there are children in here, and a variety of different activities. Some cooking going on here. And oops, you'll see that they are watching a video right now. I want to emphasize that's not something we do every day. It's a treat. We watch videos a total of 30 minutes a week. Oh. So it's really a treat for the children. We don't believe in just plopping them down in front of a television for activity. But if the teachers want to do it 30 minutes a week, they may. So minimize that. The classroom is grouped in different activity areas. Over here we have what we call a house area with all things you would find in your home, a little play kitchen, table, crib, dresser. Up there is a reading area, lots of big cushions for them to cuddle up and read, and some stuffed animals.
I'm going to run over here and see what they're cooking.
They're cooking up something. Smells like tuna.
Okay.
They're having rainbow colored.
What are we cooking over here?
What are we making, you guys?
What are you making? Rainbow tuna. Wow.
I'm making tuna.
Is it good?
Yeah.
They're choosing their colors that they want. You got blue, yellow, purple, and pink. Green? Okay, put 3 drops in there.
Is this food coloring?
Yes, it's food coloring tuna with the Miracle Whip. That's what we do. Is it good? Yummy? One,
Look at me.
2, 3.
Your mouth is all blue.
Is it yummy? You love it.
Cooking is a great activity for the kids. They enjoy it. You know, they learn about measurement. They learn about nutrition. They have a good time. I mean, so they're really having fun with the colors. I don't know if I'd eat blue tuna.
I don't know if it would be my favorite.
You want to try some?
No.
I'll give you a little
I'll pass.
Choose your color.
Choose your own color there. Okay.
And who are you?
I'm Miss Delia. I've been here with the nursery for 14 years.
Oh, and you're just watching the kids today?
I'm here watching my children. I work in room 3 with 3-year-olds.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've been working with these little guys for 14 years in this room, and it's very rewarding. Every day I learn something different.
So you see them grow up?
Yeah, I see them come and go, yeah.
Any of them brought their own children back?
Yeah, I've seen some of them almost. Yeah, because I seen one last week. Her name was Bertha, and she's 14 years old now.
Wow.
And she was in my room.
All right, thanks for talking to us.
A lot of our teachers have been here a long time. You know, it's not unusual to have staff that have been here over 10 years. Very dedicated.
They would have to be here for that longer
very
period of
dedicated.
time.
They love
They're
the
going to have
kids.
to enjoy their work.
Yes. So this is an industry that's marked by high turnover, and we're lucky that we have this longevity amongst our staff. That's not to say we don't have turnover, but it's low.
I'm just amazed at how many different activities and equipment that you have in these rooms for the children to learn with.
They're all based on the interest of children at this age, and you know, while it is teacher directed, the kids can choose many times what activities they want to participate in. If a child doesn't want to make rainbow tuna, they don't have to. They can watch the videos. We try to have at least 2 activities going on in a classroom or in an area at a time to give a child choice.
When I asked you earlier, do you focus on the academics? I can see that you do.
We do.
Because all of the activities that they're participating in is teaching them a certain type of skill.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just not academic in the sense that we tend to think of it where kids are on tables reading or filling out forms or that kind of thing.
It seems like they enjoy learning.
They do. They love it, and they don't realize they're learning. You know, they're having fun. They're playing, but as they do that, they acquire skills. They acquire information. Every activity has a purpose. Even play, even free play has a purpose.
I'm still not sold on the purple tuna.
I know. I'm not sure I'll have that either. We do have a full-service kitchen. We prepare all our meals on site. Would you like to see the kitchen?
Sure.
Okay, let me take you through here.
You serve the children lunch?
Breakfast, lunch, and 2 snacks.
Oh.
And
we're just in time for
just in time
sandwiches.
to see sandwiches today. Normally on hot days like this, we have cooler food like sandwiches. In the winter, you'll see stuff like soups or lasagna, something a little heavier and heartier.
This is where I'd want to work.
You'd want to work
in the room in the house.
It's cool. It's air conditioned here. It's a totally equipped commercial kitchen. All of our food is prepared on premises by according to USDA guidelines. So it's all nutritious, balanced, and unlike many other centers who vend their meals, we believe that preparing them on premises gives us a better control over the quality of the food that we're giving our children. So lunchtime is usually 11:30, so they're getting ready to serve pretty soon.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Okay, now you have a short video.
Yes, we do.
We are going to show it.
Okay,
Would
great.
you introduce it
Sure.
and tell us what it's all about?
Sure. We produced a video to illustrate the kind of a typical day at the day nursery, shot both here and at our East Branch. And it talks about our curriculum and our philosophy, our history a little bit. You'll see some historical photos. Also, you'll hear from Beverly O'Neill, former mayor of the city of Long Beach. Some of you may know Mayor O'Neill attended the day nursery back when she was a child, and so she is one of our most distinguished alumni and somebody we're very proud to call alumni, and we cherish our relationship with her, and you'll hear from her on the video as well.
The Long Beach Day Nursery was founded in 1912 by Florence Bixby and a small band of visionary women. These women set out to establish a day nursery for the children of working mothers, a revolutionary concept at the turn of the century. The day nursery fulfilled an important need for women who were the sole support of their families. The vision and hard work of the founders, as well as the generous support of the community, has enabled the day nursery not only to grow and expand, but also to maintain its dedication to quality child care.
I can attest to that quality. My name is Beverly O'Neill, and I am a graduate of the Long Beach Day Nursery. I can remember going to the day nursery starting at age 3 because my mother worked. And I can remember being there and the kindness I felt. I can remember learning to tie my shoe and then teaching others how to tie their shoes. I also remember the stability that it gave me, which was very important to me and to all young children. And all of those qualities must have made a difference. I've been mayor of the city of Long Beach for the last 12 years.
Today, the Long Beach Day Nursery is the oldest, continuously licensed private social welfare agency in the state, caring for over 230 children aged 6 weeks to 6 years. It is one of a handful of nationally accredited programs ensuring the highest standards of early education. More development occurs during the first 5 years than at any other stage of life. We believe that a balance of physical, social, emotional, and intellectual stimulation is essential for this development. Our curriculum, based on developmentally appropriate practices, allows each child to proceed as he or she is ready, to foster confidence and self-esteem, and low teacher-to-child ratios assure that all children enjoy individual attention. There are multiple facets of our curriculum. The Ready to Read program develops early literacy through conversation and storybooks. Mathematical and scientific thinking is encouraged by using number and quantity and inviting children to explore the world around them. Personal and social development. Children develop self-concept and self-control by interacting and solving problems together. Early intervention program. A consulting child psychologist evaluates children for developmental delays or other special needs and develops an action plan with the family and teacher. Physical development includes large and small motor development. Arts. Children express their creativity through art, music, and dramatic play. The day is a blend of child and teacher-initiated activities, including group time, outdoor play, rest, and nutritious meals and snacks. Long Beach Day Nursery is very proud of its contribution to young children and the community in which they live. We firmly believe that children's early education is a wise investment in the future. In fact, one 30-year study found that $1 invested in quality early childhood education yields a $17 return from reduced crime, education savings, increased tax base, and reduced welfare costs.
It's the community support that ensures that the Long Beach Day Nursery continues its mission, established nearly 100 years ago, which was quite innovative in that day, to provide quality, early care education for young children of working parents. This is an important legacy that nurtures lives and gives back to our wonderful Long Beach community.
For more information about our programs, volunteer opportunities, or other ways to support the Long Beach Day Nursery, we invite you to call us.
Pat, I want to thank you for taking me on a tour because I'm very impressed with the nursery. And that's our show for this time. Be sure and join us again next time as we take another walk through history and uncover more.